Welcome to the meeting of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board of Trustees. The board is going to adjourn to closed session. This is the opportunity for anyone to provide public comment on closed session. We have no public, so I'm assuming we have no public comment. So I will close public comment and we will adjourn to closed session. We'll return to open session at 5:30. Thank you very much.
and your life.
Thank you. Welcome to the meeting of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board of Trustees. It's June 1st, 2022. I apologize that we're a few minutes tardy. The board did meet in closed session this evening and took no reportable action in closed session. Mr. Rowe, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening? Thank you. Thank you. I will note that we do have one board member who is joining us remotely this evening. We did pass a resolution to allow, which is allowed under the COVID rules these days, to allow us to meet remotely. We chose to meet in person, but we do have one board member who is utilizing that capability due to health concerns. So, and we would assume that that will continue to occur. So just everyone's aware that Galen is online with us, and we're happy to have him there. So approval of agenda. Superintendent Geisels, any adjustments to this evening's agenda?
No, President Zurich, there are no adjustments.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
So I believe because we have Galen remote, we still need to do a roll call.
Member Baylor?
Aye.
Member Kelsey?
Aye.
Member Viva?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Yes.
President Zurich?
Yes. Sorry, Lupita, to just throw that at you. I'm sorry. Okay. Next, we have our Superintendent Chief Learning Officer's report for the district.
Thank you, President Zurich. First of all, it is with great sadness that we share our most heartfelt sympathy with the students, parents, staff, and community of Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. Excuse me. The board and myself would like to take this opportunity to have a moment of silence for the families that suffer such a great loss, but also for the families in Buffalo and now in Tulsa, and for all of the families who have lost a loved one to gun violence. Thank you. And now, to celebrate our students and the staff who work tirelessly every day to support them, we have two presentations this evening, and we're going to start with the little guys. One is from Truckee Elementary, and one is from Truckee High School. So, Ms. Colburn, would you care to come up and join us? Thank you.
I'm not the little one. Sammy's not. Partners will be turning my back. Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. My name's Sarah Colborn. I have the, thanks, Lupita. I have the pleasure of being the principal at Truckee Elementary. And tonight I want to share with you a little bit of our adventure with the science of reading. And this is one of the first steps, but I know that the board and our community is becoming more and more aware of the journey of the science of reading that all of our elementary schools are taking across the district. But I'm just going to share you part of our adventure so far. Just a little bit of background in terms of why did we begin the journey of science of reading at Truckee Elementary. You're familiar with multi-tiered systems of support, and like the other elementary schools and middle schools and high schools of our district, we have MTSS as well. A simplified version is it's a tiered system. Tier 1 would be considered, the regular classroom, regular instruction, regular social, emotional, and behavioral support. A Tier 2 would be additional support, such as intervention. And then Tier 3 would be more specific, targeted intervention. An example is often special education. And so what we discovered, shall I say, admitted a few years ago at Truckee Elementary is that we had far more students that needed Tier 2 intervention in reading than our intervention program, no matter how wonderful and skilled, could provide. And we also looked long and hard at our practices and our data and figured to, no matter how hard we were working, how passionate we were not impacting student learning in terms of reading enough, and we were not getting enough students reading at or above grade level. So we had to take a long, hard look at what we were doing in our Tier 1, because we couldn't keep sending kids to intervention down the hall. We had to change what we were doing in our first quality instruction. And so we started looking into the science of reading. We specifically looked at a program called Letters, Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling, and our amazing instructional coach, Melanie Cook, decided, with Ed Services support and our encouragement, to get herself certified to actually be a trainer. And so she spent the summer of 2020 becoming a trainer of Letters, so that in the fall we were able to hit the ground running as a staff, and every single certificated teacher at Truckee Elementary has been working for the last 2 years through Letters, the programs on the science of reading. And while we could spend 2 years talking about the science of reading, I'll just highlight a few pieces. But everyone from our TK teacher to our 5th grade teacher to our PE teachers began this work with Volume 1 last year. And we just completed Volume 2 this year, which is the final volume. Some of the top priorities of the learning is to steep ourselves in how the brain works to learn how to read. Reading is not a natural function. It's actually quite a relatively new innovation that our race has developed. So while we learn to speak and don't even remember learning it, learning how to read is actually quite a convoluted process. And so we spent many sessions in a modified format during a pandemic, online, on Wednesdays, gearing up to share in this learning, giving each other pep talks, and continuing to be excited about it, which was not always easy. But we spent quite a bit of time just learning about the brain and the different language processing centers of the brain and what strategies align with literal brain research on how students learn how to read. A second big part of the science of reading is focusing in on the simple view of reading, and it's really a multiplication equation. It's word recognition must be in place, so things like decoding, just simply being able to pronounce the sounds, times language comprehension, which we were super excited about because it aligned with the work we were already doing around speaking and listening with Tara and Jeff Swears, and academic and collaborative conversations. And put these two things together, when you times them together, that will result in reading comprehension. But just like any multiplication problem, if any of these factors are zero, the end result, the product, is going to be zero. So if we don't have word recognition, we won't have reading comprehension. If we don't have the language comprehension, we won't have the reading comprehension. So we spent a long time looking at how to make sure those pieces are ensured in our TK through 5th grade classrooms. And another big piece is called the Scarborough's rope, the reading rope. And this visual is nice because it just shows how many elements are involved in a person learning how to read. And so even within word recognition, which are all the blue strands, there are several aspects of word recognition that weave together to be able to decode, and then the red strands being the language comprehension. You can see that there are so many aspects of that as well. The blue strands are what we worked on last year in Volume 1, very much looking at foundational reading skills, and which applies mostly to our TK through 2nd grade classes. However, again, because of our very diverse demographic at Truckee Elementary, we were finding that our students were still needing to learn how to read. Many of our students were still learning how to read after grade 2. And so when we went to the red threads this year, it was really validating for the upper grades too, because vocabulary, reading comprehension, writing. But regardless of what age level we're supposed to be teaching these things at, we know that they all weave together. And it was really validating for our TK through 5th grade staff to have a common language and a common understanding. And so, instead of spending 2 years explaining the science of reading, we thought we'd let a little video do the talking for us. And so what you'll see here is just a montage of some, quite frankly, quick lessons that we just literally, the night before, I'm like, hey, we're going to come in and take a few videos. And so this is what I was able to capture. In our 2nd grade classroom, they are breaking down and reforming words so that they can identify the sound and letter connections. Our 2nd grade student here is reading decodable texts. That's been a huge shift for us. I'm going from level text to decodable text that aligns with the science of reading. Oh, darn it. This is our reading intervention class, and they were just working on 2-syllable words. And one of the exciting pieces is that the students are really owning the high-level language. And actually, we have a kindergartner here talking right now, defining what a diagraph is, and being able to use and manipulate that vocabulary. And behind Georgia, you can see the sound wall that we have in all the lower grades now as well. Ed, is there any way for us to be able to play the video without that feedback? Oh, thanks. Okay. What you see in this kindergarten class, we're working on letter formations. And again, this isn't new. It's been quite validating for a lot of our teachers, but getting common in how to teach. One of the pieces around our spotlight strategies, just like the predominant strategies at Truckee High and Alder Creek, is being able to I wish you could hear these little ones talking, is being able to have common approaches that not only align with the science, but the idea of students going from kindergarten to 1st grade to 2nd grade, and instead of putting all of their cognitive energy into, well, here's how I learn how to read in Miss Silmy's class in kinder, and here's how I learn how to read in Rodarte's class in 1st, and here's how I learn in Blonde's class in 2nd, we're using more common language and approaches so the kids can really focus in on the act of learning how to read. I'll send it to you. Yeah. The next video that is not as easy to narrate is actually testimonials from the teachers. And so to summarize, we asked the teachers and one of our amazing school psychologists, who I'm really tempted to have you just get up here and talk now, is what does it look like for teachers at Truckee Elementary? And so there's 2 parts to this testimonial video. The first part is teachers just speaking to how it's changed their instruction, and that idea of feeling more confident. There's testimony for our English learners. There's testimony for our socioeconomic disadvantage. There's testimonies for the students that have not had enough success in getting them to accelerate. We're seeing that happen. And of course, we're seeing average to above average growth with our students that are from non-EL and non-SED families as well. So one of the other pieces is that through our first year of the pilot, where we did volume 1, we had our first grade and second grade teams start a little ahead of the rest of the staff so that they could do some of that legwork and get that momentum going. The rest of us have been kind of catching up. At the end of last year, in addition to starting to apply the actual science of reading through the general phonics lesson plan, the pilot team had gone through several metrics aligned with the science of reading and the different aspects of reading. And while we had some fantastic informative assessment tools, they were extremely time consuming. And so as a pilot team, and thanks to Laura Burley, glad you are here, we looked into an assessment tool called DIBBLES, Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. And so the second aspect of the testimonial was just how this DIBBLES pilot has impacted the classes so amazingly. So we started with first and second grade being the pilot. Kinder and TK started watching, and they jumped right onto that pilot. And then third grade started jumping on. And so we've actually exceeded expectations in terms of how quickly we could move ahead with this DIBBLES pilot. And so since we'll be skipping the video, which are the best parts, I'll go ahead and just... Any luck, Ed? No. But look how amazing she is. Look how amazing Laura Burley is right there. She's saying, we owe it all to Sarah Colborn. Just kidding. Totally, of course, not at all. We just had a staff meeting, and I was saying how excited I was to come and celebrate the staff. They've just worked so hard, but they've worked smart, too. So back to the slide deck. I do have this is for you, Galen. I have a little bit of data to share in a moment. Oh, you are? I'm sorry.
Really, if it doesn't work, just send us the
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking evidence-based instruction right workshop. And I felt like I was at the tier 1 level, all the way up to tier 3, and students with special education services.
I've noticed that our English language learners have gained a better ability of identifying the skills that they're learning in class, such as vocabulary like digraph and trigraph. They're able to understand that that's what they're learning and they can define it.
Prior to coming to TTUSD, I was in Oakland, and most of my training was around Lucy Calkin's reading and writing workshop. And I felt like I didn't really have the tools to support the students who were struggling to read. And over the last several years, I just feel like my toolbox has grown so much, and I have so many different resources and ideas to pull from to help those students with those foundational reading and writing skills.
The science of reading has informed my instruction as a TK teacher by really showing me the value of those pre-reading foundational skills and writing skills.
This is the assessment that I was referring to.
I've never known so much about my students, yet spent so little time on assessments. I feel like science of reading teaching and teaching the phonics lessons every day has made it possible that I can know where every student is at and what they're going to need to learn. I can make individualized groups quickly and easily and give them the instruction they need. And then I've also never seen quite as much growth as I have this year, whether it was my lowest students achieving more or even my highest students continuing to grow in their reading.
The DIBBLES data has helped me objectively see the students who have real struggles and concerns with reading.
So one of the, I think, greatest things about using DIBBLES this year in my role as a reading intervention teacher has been using the graphs that the platform for DIBBLES generates, and it shows students' growth in specific foundational skills. And so in my reading intervention groups, I'm able to share these graphs with parents that show students who are making above average growth or even average growth. And this year in particular, it's helped establish and kind of develop these really strong relationships with parents and them being really proud of their students.
How are we doing for time with this delay? I have the other video that's 3 minutes. It's okay, we can... Would that be okay? Okay, good. It's the better part. Yeah. And as it's getting set up, just to clarify one point that I did make. So when we talk about studying letters, it's not a new curriculum. It is essentially like a Reading Specialist 101. And it's just giving us the tools to filter through the adopted materials we already have, and is allowing us to really clearly identify what we need to supplement. And we have identified some pieces of supplemental materials in addition to our Wonders materials. And so again, as that's getting loaded up, just for the sake of time, I will tell you that the end game for this work, there we go.
SH together is a diagram. SH together says SH together says, and that's a diagram.
Point. 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 So not with the just the point. Point. Void.
Patch. Change patch to match. Match. Change patch to match. Match. Patch to match. How to.
Mitch heard a scratch at the door. Mitch tried to switch on the light, but...
Okay, first syllable, read.
Garden.
Second syllable, read.
Den.
Read.
Garden.
You're reading 2-syllable words.
I look at it.
And there might be some digraphs. Raise your hand if you can tell me what's a digraph. Berkeley.
2 letters, 1 sound.
2 letters, 1 sound. Good job. Okay, you ready? Here's your first word. Lash. Black. Uh-oh, what are we going to do first? Tap it out first. That's right, Roma. We're going to tap it out first. Then we'll find letters. Lash.
So everyone, we're gonna do it in the sky. Ready? Start at the plane like this, and you're gonna go down to the rest. And you're gonna jump up and around. Okay, look at the J. Look at the J. Ready? You're gonna start at the plane, go down and around, and dot.
And then
Okay?
across.
And then across. Dash. Ass.
Hi.
Ding dong, show your face. Punching power.
Yeah, so a little kid fix. Yeah, thanks for making sure that worked, Lupita and Ed. Thank you, and thanks in the sound booth. So I know that I'll start speaking a little bit quickly here because of the time delay. What has already changed, how we're teaching foundational reading, how we're assessing reading, as the video discussed a little bit, how we're discussing reading instruction and student progress, really focusing in on our Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles this year, data-driven, data-focused in meaningful ways. And so Dibbles has, again, it's just one tool, but it has given us a way to talk about teaching reading that's making a difference every day. It also has changed the way we feel about our impact on student learning. The data we've been looking at, yes, it aligns with a science-based scope and sequence that tells us next steps and what a student must learn before we can skip to the next step. But looking at growth data, and being able to look at even our most struggling readers and see, okay, not at grade level yet, but well above average growth, just more, like the morale has shifted because we can see that we're making a difference. So this is for you, Galen. Just a couple of graphs. The impact on student learning. This is a graph that it can be generated by Dibbles. the first grade is part of the pilot team and has been a couple steps ahead of some of the other grades because of the pilot status. So at the beginning of the school year, we did the Dibble screening on all of the first graders, which assesses each aspect of reading. And then in the middle of the school year, again, we went through all students to do the screening. And so the blue part of the pie chart shows the percentage of first grade students that made average, above average, or well above average growth from beginning to middle of school year. And this was only in the beginning of this year. So last year we really started implementing the general phonics lesson plan this year. That was really promising for us, and we saw that trend continue. The STAR Early Literacy is a common assessment that you're all familiar with, and I chose this one because it is an assessment that all first graders would take. And so this was actually last year's data. We were just beginning and doing our best to apply the learning as we were going, specifically the general phonics lesson plan. And so this data here, if it's green, shows that the school or that grade level was making high levels of growth based on student growth percentile. And so we see Sells and we see Kings Beach. The other one in the middle, that tall green one, that's Truckee Elementary people. That's Truckee Elementary people. When I said Truckee, you say Truckee. There we go. Impact on student learning, sorry. So I've mentioned the general phonics lesson plan, but really using data-driven instruction to determine what that general phonics lesson plan is filled with. First grade and now TK and kinder, we're using that specific data to do a walk-to-learn model, where we're using the data to group students flexibly and then deploy them out to different classes so that we can target additional intervention through the general ed teachers. We're doing that tier 2 work. And we have extended day reading acceleration, and because of the data, we've been able to identify specific children that have excellent accuracy, but they need a bump in fluency, which we know will increase comprehension. So we've identified that group of 10 kids, and they're coming before school. And we started training our paraprofessionals in the science of reading as well, so that, again, all teachers and our parapros are making the impact. So our next steps, we completed volume 2. And because we had the pleasure of starting a year early, we're continuing to work on our spotlight strategies. So in addition to our math spotlight strategies and our academic conversations, we now have our foundational reading skills. And even today, began to identify our vocabulary, comprehension, and writing strategies. The DIBBLES and the collaborative data analysis, we are really looking forward to next year rolling up our sleeves, and instead of getting that fire hose of information, really applying our learning and being product oriented to go through all our materials. We still have a lot of work to do. And so I just wanted to take tonight to say thank you, one, for your patience with the presentation, but also just thank you because the district leadership has supported us greatly. The advocacy for the letters training, which was significant, not just at Truckee Elementary, but at all the elementary schools. The support for DIBBLES to let us pilot that, and the extended learning opportunity to support our extended day programs where we're using this information. So thank you very much. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colborn.
Thank you, Ms. Colburn. Thank you, Ms. DeLallo, for being here, and all the lovely Truckee Elementary teachers that I see behind you. Thank you so much for your time. And next, without further ado, we have Truckee High School. And Miss Melanie, if you would bring your illustrious team up, your crew.
And I do have 2 presenters that are virtual. I have 2 presenters that are virtual, just so you know. Okay. All right. Good evening. I'm going to introduce myself first before I forget. I am Logan Maloney.
Unlike last night.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Logan Maloney, the principal of Truckee High School. I wanted to take the time to celebrate the class of 2022 tonight with you all. We are going to do that by explaining how we meet our Truckee High mission each day. Once it's on the screen, please hold.
You're trying to do the best of both.
No worries.
It's a challenge.
Well, they've got remote.
Thank you.
There's the remote and then.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
In a second, yes. That's fine, too. If I can still switch through.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it'll still switch through, right?
Next slide.
Next slide, please. So then you'll just do it. There we go.
All right. So in front of you is the mission statement that we strive for, and these experts in the room definitely achieve every day. But it is to inspire, prepare, and empower our students for college, career, and a purposeful life. So we'll talk about each of these components in the success of our class of 2022. To do that, I'm going to introduce Ms. Eberhardt, Ms. Feldstein, both of our counselors, and our Teacher of the Year, Craig Rowe. So we have a few virtual and a few in person.
Yes. Can we turn her up any, Mr. Hilton?
Hold on, Kelly. Kelly, can you hold on just
Kelly,
a
hold
moment?
on one sec. Serge and Rory, could you bring in the Google Meet audio from Kelly? Kelly, do a check, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Kelly Eberhardt, Truckee High Counselor, and we are all so proud of the class of 2022 and their resiliency throughout the last couple of years and their impressive acceptances in light of the record number of applicants applying to college this year throughout the country. As you can see here, Columbia, Princeton, Stanford, UC Berkeley, UCLA, to name a few notable universities. And if you click on our list, you can see a full list of where the class of 2022 is headed next year. UCs, CSUs, California community colleges, prestigious private colleges and out-of-state universities, arts conservatories, trade schools, a wide variety of post-secondary plans for our accomplished scholars with varying passions, interests, and goals. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Teacher of the Year, Mr. Craig Rowe, to share a little bit more about the process and how we support our students to explore and plan for post-secondary.
Thank you very much. My name is Craig Rowe. Thank you for that, Kelly. And I just want to say, too, thank you very much for the honor of Teacher of the Year. But if there's one thing that every teacher knows is that there's no such thing as Teacher of the Year, right? There's only different teaching styles. So I accept it with great humility and gratitude. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. It's good to see you in person. It's been a minute. And partly that's on me. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Sarah and seeing those young kids, because I was thinking as we saw those kids coming out of last night and seeing the generosity of our community, seeing the acceptances on the list, and I was looking at those kids, and I think everyone in this room could go to one of those kids, any of them on that slide, and in full honesty, be able to tell them and their families that you can do whatever you want to do at this school district, both in terms of the funding and the generosity from our TTCF donors to the administration that have provided course curriculum like CCR 11 and CCR 910, which I teach, and also our counseling department and the academic enrichment process agreements that we have with Sierra College. I'm very proud of the students that we have going on to Stanford, going on to Columbia and the Ivy League, and they are this year. But they don't need a class, and they don't need me or anybody else to tell them that Stanford's a great school, right? But for the student, the Hope Zurichs of the world, the Wooies of the world, the Dlacs of the world, making it happen at community college, the Luis Castanedas going to welding college, welding CTE pathway, funded, those kind of opportunities come from a collective effort. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of with our site leadership, as well as our board leadership, is giving us the resources and the platforms as educators and as counselors and advisors to really help meet kids where they are and to really let them lean in to understand that there's not one pathway to success. and success is going to come from within. So I'm very excited. I could talk all night about our accomplishments, but we have others. But that's really our mission, I feel, is to allow kids where they are to give them every resource that we do. And I'll just leave you with one last image. Right before I came up here, I was giving a little feedback on an admissions essay. This kid is in her last couple weeks of 11th grade, and she was writing about where she was riding. She was riding in a two-bedroom trailer, 6 people living in a two-bedroom trailer at the trailer park at the corner of 89 and West River. And she was writing in her body of the essay, and it wasn't a violent essay. She was very matter-of-fact about her circumstances, and she was writing about the business program that she was going to attend this summer Indiana University. And she was writing about the Citizens Climate Lobby internship that she performed as a research fellow this summer. And she was writing to an audience of private schools and elite. And it struck me that I don't know that other districts could tell that kid and give that kid the opportunity to not only transform her own life, but the generational impact that we're having. So I'm deeply grateful to be a part of it. I think we're doing great things at Truckee High and as a board, and I'm just very glad to be a part of it.
Oh, do you want to come up real quick?
Sure, thank you. Hi, I'm Jackie Feldstein, one of the counselors, and I'm here to share that we are so excited to kind of continue the celebrations and looking forward to next year. We're going to be using our A through G completion improvement grant to hire a temporary school counselor for the 2022-2023 school year. And this counselor will focus solely on continuing to improve our A through G completion for all students and focusing on research-based strategies to do that. So thank you.
So we're going to go virtual again, and I am going to introduce Mr. Bensley, which is our career technical education teacher in gone boarding and in engineering, to start us off with that.
All right, good to see everybody on the virtual front. Just making sure everybody can hear me. Awesome. I think the easiest way to celebrate CTE is just to talk about my day, really. And it's just it's been a really amazing year, to tell you the truth. I have the privilege of teaching gone boarding, and I walk in, and first thing we do is we talk about our agenda. We talk about what everybody's going to complete in the day, and you don't get to walk into work and teach kids about how to make a snowboard or how to make a surfboard or how to make a skateboard. That's not something we see in every school. And it lights my heart up just getting to do it and getting to watch kids do it. And adjacent to me during first period, I get to observe, and oftentimes our doors even open to go back and forth because we share tools. I get to watch Jody Burrell put robots together with her kids, and watching four-person teams of engineers, thoroughly engaged in the process of making a robot while I'm sitting next door, aiding a kid, sometimes in the same room, glassing a surfboard. It really is just an amazing thing. And then fast forward another class period, and I'm teaching gone boarding 2, and I get to see the students that were so engaged in gone boarding 1 that they wanted to do it again. And oftentimes they're picking up projects that are so intricate that they're teaching me, and I get to be there. And it's a really fun, amazing journey when a student comes in and says, "Mr. Bensley, I surfed Lake Tahoe yesterday, and it turns out there wasn't enough volume in my surfboard, so I need to make another one." And I'll say, "All right, let's do it. What size are we going for?" And then by fourth period, Miss Riccitelli is our welding teacher, is teaching kids how to stick weld and MIG weld and TIG weld, and taking her background from actually being in the field and teaching kids how to actually put those skills that she has used in the field into their hands. And then in addition, having kids come into my class with just stories of Chopped from Dana Frank's classroom. And, you know, they have their different meals that they've prepared and the excitement that I get to see in their eyes from that class. It really is, it's an uplifting day most days for me. And it's really exciting to be a part of that. And I think just in celebration, in relationship to career, I think what we're building in these students is creativity and problem solving. I think we all know that once we get into a career, there's a certain amount of skill that you already have, but then there's 90% that you got to learn on the fly in order to be effective in the career that you've chosen. And I think that our students, by being creative and picking out a surfboard and saying, Mr. Mensley, I have no idea how to do this. I don't know what to do. And then by the end of the semester saying, wow, that was a lot of work and I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but now I have it. And having that ability to access their creativity and problem solving is something that it's a skill that's going to follow them into any realm that they want. So not only are they taking in a skill, let's say like TIG welding, which is going to apply to the field, but also, like I said, learning how to be creative and problem solve. So just in general, my day is the celebration, I would say, for our CTE pathways. And I can't thank the district enough and the board enough and our site administration enough for all the support that we get to make it happen. It is not a financially cheap endeavor, but it is 100% worth it. And I also wanted to thank all the pilots out there, Jody Burrell, Jessica Riccitelli, Dana Frank, Trent Kirshner for making it happen here on the CTE pathways. So just lots of thanks and lots of celebration here at Truckee High.
Thanks, Mike. And in front of you, you can see the CTA pathway completers for this school year. It says it's on. And they will be wearing their sashes at graduation. Next slide. So we just wanted to bring up the Career Connections event that was on March 24th. So when a senior from the class of 2022 did not have a current plan, we asked them what they were interested in, and we provided an industry partner specifically to meet with those students in one-on-one settings often to prepare for interviews. And some actually got jobs through that event, one-on-one with our industry partners in our community, which was fantastic to see. I think I can change it. So with that, we will quickly talk about how our students are ready for a purposeful life after they leave Truckee High School. I'm going to introduce Mr. Newberger, Ms. Herrera, and Mrs. Delgado.
Thank you. So I'll just speak very briefly. If you would hit the next slide, please. Thank you so much. So in our enrichment classes, the goal is to provide students real life opportunities that is tied to their interests, and then we as a staff differentiate that based on their ability and their future plans. Adulting, for example, was a class we created out of student voice, and we've adapted that curriculum each time we've taught that class to best support the students in front of us. Many of our classes are upholding the importance of life, education, social emotional learning, and as Ms. Herrera shares some class of 2022 celebrations, we can go to the next slide and look at some student examples.
Thank you. It's been absolutely incredible to teach a class like adulting, being able to teach, advise, and coach our students through resume writing, practicing interviews in class, going to a first interview, landing their first job, going through how to buy a car, advising them how to go through that process of getting a loan. And some of our students have done that this semester. Teaching them how to read real life contracts and navigate that legal jargon, because most of them are going to be moving out of their parents' homes in the next couple of weeks. And reading those contracts on how to rent a home or rent an apartment becomes very real for a lot of our students. So navigating and helping them navigate those real life speed bumps that they're quickly approaching has been a wonderful experience for our students.
And then on this slide, I just pulled some examples from different types of classes that we offer. So in the bottom left is adulting, like Ms. Herrera was talking about. We had a group that was really interested in planning for car emergencies. Some of them had been in some and were very unprepared. So we created a project for them to make that helpful. In the bottom right, our wellness coordinator does a really great job of preparing a curated list of lessons that we push out into our SS, Student Success, 25-minute period a day. In the upper right, our art teacher really upholds student reflection, and so she created a space for students to reflect on the experience of going through a pandemic and some of the isolation felt through that. In the middle center is our leadership class and the presentation that they put together on impaired driving to deliver to the school the day before prom and really highlight the importance of that. And then in the upper left corner, in one of our special day classes, students are working with cause and effect and then reflecting on that within their actions and bringing that back to discipline. We'll have Mr. Newberger talk about how we use that as well.
Can you go to the next slide? So our student learning outcomes are kind of the basis for reflection at school. There's 4 categories and 32 what I call themes. And basically the hope is that students can get some skills and experience in these categories and themes before they graduate. And they're basically lifelong processes of learning. So next slide. So the 4 themes are on the left-hand side. And then I just picked out a few little parts of them, things like confronting obstacles with persistence and building and sustaining meaningful relationships for critical thinking and intellectual growth, supporting an argument with evidence, civic mindset, becoming an active member of the community, and communication, sharing constructive criticism, and discussing opposing views with empathy and respect. So really important aspects of any job, any work, any scholar. And kind of along these lines, this year the United Club put together a student panel that gave voice to students on campus to discuss their experiences in the hallways and classrooms and using a lot of these student learning outcomes. And then, next slide. And then for student reflection, we kind of mentioned it with the discipline piece, but basically we use the student learning outcomes for reflection in disciplinary situations and post-suspension questions. And basically we know students are going to make mistakes, and that's okay. We often say that we have 4 years in those 4 walls to help students grow and learn.
So we want to send a huge congratulations to the class of 2022 for successfully being ready for college, career, and life. So we will see you at graduation on Saturday, June 11th at 11 a.m. in Surprise Stadium. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Colburn. Thank you, Ms. Melanie, Mr. Newberger, and your wonderful staff. I know it was a bit of a long superintendent's update, but at the same time, this is why we're here, and this is what it's all about. So thank you for coming and sharing an amazing work that you're doing at your school sites. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time, Mr. Rowe, June 15th, okay?
You're not done yet.
You got to come back.
That was awesome, and thank you for doing that, Carmen and the rest of you, but that was huge. We have so missed you.
Yeah, Dee Dee, thank you. I mean, I've just been reflecting lately how much I've missed you guys and the kids, and it just makes my heart glad. I can't wait to be back to normal in the schools. So thank you for bringing us a piece of that. Because, you know, the high pay we get here is worth it all. But it's all about the kids. It's so great. So thank you. And I'm really intrigued by DIBBLE. I know you had 4 new acronyms on one slide, Ms. Colburn. But, but to have an assessment tool that is quick and gives you good data, super cool. So thank you. So. Okay.
All right, that's my update.
Yeah,
Oh,
Galen, Galen, you're going to have to yell at me if you want to say anything because it's hard to look around. So thank you. Okay, you good?
Yes.
Thank you for that amazing superintendent's report. Okay, so next we have our consent agenda. Does staff need to pull any items from the consent agenda?
No, we do not.
Do any board members wish to pull any items from the consent agenda?
No.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Member Dlac,
Aye.
Member Driller,
Aye.
Member Hennessy,
Aye.
Clerk Larson,
Yes.
President Zurich.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wanted to, at this moment, since we said yes and you've all approved, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our incoming Executive Director of Education Services, Ms. Kirsten Kramer, who will be actively participating in the last 3 board meetings of this year, starting tonight. And she has someone she'd like to introduce to our TTUSD board as our newest member of our TTUSD team.
I'm very excited to introduce our newest educational service member after myself, just barely. Her name is Shawn Roderick. Shawn, if you want to come up. Shawn has just finished a successful school year as a high school principal, got all of her seniors graduated. She has 20 years of educational experience from preschool to high school, including high school administration. She has curriculum experience, and one of the best parts is the fact that she has that student focus that's so important at TTUSD. So welcome, Shawn.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me become part of the team. I'm excited for the journey, and this is home now, so I'm ready to get up here and get started.
Well, thank you for joining us. You'll find it's a great family here, so thank you. Thanks, ladies. And congratulations, Kirsten, also. Yeah, yeah. So next we move on to association reports, and we did get an email from our CSEA representative that she had no comments for us this evening. So next we get to hear from TTEA.
Good evening, members of the school board, Chief Learning Officer Geisels, members of the executive cabinet, and everyone in attendance, both virtually and in person this evening. And it strikes me that this is the first time that I've been in person in a very long time. My name is Jess DeLallo, and I am the president of the Tahoe Truckee Education Association, which is the local teachers union. And on the one hand, I cannot believe that we are already at the June board meeting. And on the other hand, I cannot believe that we finally made it to the June board meeting. The last few years have been so crazy and tumultuous that I'm not really sure what an easy school year would be like anymore. And they say that calm seas do not make good sailors. And I think that the employees of all classifications at TTUSD have shown their true mettle since 2019. Just when we thought that we had teaching through a pandemic dialed in, this year added fire and smoke days, snow days through May, custodial, transportation, special education paraprofessional shortages, the loss of many former coworkers, a reconfiguration, major movement in district leadership, etc. I take great pride in saying that members of TTEA have done a great job adapting to the constantly changing environment around them each year and still being such good role models to our students. Change can be very difficult, especially when there are a lot of these revisions in a short period of time. Having the opportunity to see respected adults going through difficult adjustments has actually helped many of our students have easier transitions to some of the new situations that they are now facing in their and our lives. It is time that we, or at least I, since I'm the one that's always talking about change, must face the facts that we no longer are living in the same society that we were before COVID. Status quo is no longer a reasonable expectation, and we need to be kind, courteous, and gentle with each other while we learn to make this paradigm shift in our society. As usual, our students have shown us how to do it seamlessly, beautifully, kindly, and generously. All you have to do is walk on any of the TTUSD campuses, and you will see students going out of their way to be kind to each other, to help the environment, recycling, working with SWEP, bringing awareness to social issues, helping each other and those in need, etc. We have all gone above and beyond the last few years to do our part to help ease the burden that COVID and all that has come along with the pandemic has put upon our community. But I feel that there are a few groups that deserve a very special shout out. First and foremost, our students and their families. Our nurses and our understaffed classified. All of the amazing faculty members who work one-on-one with our students, no matter how contagious COVID is on any given day. And our counselors and school psychologists who have helped so many get through the unexpected loss of loved ones from this difficult disease. But most of all, the amazing men and women who make up the membership of Tahoe Truckee Education Association. While I'm hoping for a nice and calm 2022-2023, knock on wood, I am peaceful knowing that our members, our classified, our admin and school board, and most importantly, our students and families will be ready to handle whatever life throws at us. So I would like to wish you all a safe and happy summer, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all at the Welcome Back Convocation in the fall. So remember to wear your helmets and apply sunscreen liberally. Thank you.
Very great words. Thanks, Jess. Okay, next we get to hear from our Educational Services Department about our English learning program.
Yes, we have our revised master plan for English language learners, and we have our coordinator of English language programs, Ms. Tara House, who's going to give us an annual update. Ms. House?
There we go. Thank you, President Zurich, board members, and Superintendent Geisels.
Ms. House,
Yes.
are there any videos in this presentation?
There are not.
Okay.
In either of them. This is a very short presentation just highlighting some of the ways that the plan is revised each year, and you have received the full plan with tracked changes, and every year we update that so that we are current in our implementation of the EL master plan. So next slide, or do I have control? Okay. The plan is approved, revised and approved annually, and we align that to the English Learner Roadmap, the LCAP, obviously, and other state requirements as they come down. So you'll see some of those changes were based on the state, and some were based on LCAP decisions that we made this year. The plan is also revised with input from our Dlac. Also, the EL coordinators meet monthly and give input as well. And we obviously run things by cabinet and principals as they are important. The highlights are really just, we have new Dlac members every year. We have different staff, so all of those things get changed. We cleaned up and updated some language. You know, we still had a few rogue acronyms that were outdated that we had to update, but most of that was pretty quick and easy. The main changes that we made were in the RFEP criteria. We learned this year that we do not need to follow subscores in LPAC for reclassification based on the state approved criteria for reclassification from English learner to fluent English proficient. So that means that the students just have to have an overall score of a 4, well developed, and then their additional criteria of grades and test scores and things like that that we add to that, and parent approval. So that's a great thing for our kids. It makes it easier for some kids to reclassify that were struggling with some of the subscores that they might have not been able to score as high in. Additionally, we added DIBELS. So you just learned about the DIBELS acronym and assessment, and we will be using that this summer as well. We think that will be very helpful in tracking our students, how well they do over the summer, and give us some cleaner summer data for you all and us to learn from. And then that platform, we believe that will be a good indicator for students as well for reclassification. So we're adding that as a possible qualifier for reclassification. And then we added a little bit in there around GATE and accelerated learning. So this year, a very cool thing has been happening where Karen Martin and Barbara Kane have been working together, meeting individually with English learner families who qualify for GATE services to make sure that they take full advantage of the services available to them and understand what it means to be accelerated or GATE in this district and in their lives. So that's been a really amazing change that we've seen take place this year with, so we added that to our English Learner Master Plan. Are there any questions on the?
No question, just a comment. I just was going to quickly I was trying to write it out so I wouldn't forget, but here we are. Just amazing, just your steadfast and your solid support for this group and the innovativeness of getting different things out there. The GATE, I mean, that's something that's huge. We haven't done that. So really, like, your whole plan has been awesome, and you've been there for a while. So I think you've got a lot of history behind you in terms of seeing where we were and how we have needs to go. And I think that's what, like, the whole mantra of what's happening now is as Jess just said, we're not doing the same. Our life jacket that you had on before is not the same one. And I think you're looking for new life jackets, which is awesome. Thank you. And lily pads. That's my new thing. Did you guys hear that? Life jackets and lily pads. Like, we're providing life jackets and lily pads because it's not, you can't stand on a lily pad. You got to jump. But anyway, I think you're doing that.
Thank you. Galen, I can't see you. Do you have anything you want to ask?
I have one question, Tom. Are your students and your parents familiar with this program, Letters? And if you are, how's that working out?
Yes, we are really excited about the changes and implementation of Letters across all elementaries. We really have seen the benefits at Truckee Elementary, and we feel that that will be hugely impactful for our English learner population.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you want me to stay? Okay. Do you want to vote on it? Yeah, I think it has to be
info
approved.
action, correct?
Yeah.
So you need board approval.
Okay. So this is 12.1, and then we'll move on to 12. Because you're going to do 11.1. You're going to do 11.2 also, right?
Correct.
Okay. So is there public comment on 11.1 before the board takes action? Don't have any here. Okay. So would someone like to move approving the master plan for English learners?
I'll make a motion to approve the master plan for English learners 21-22.
I'll second.
Member Dlac?
Aye.
Member Driller?
Aye.
Member Hennessy?
Aye.
Clerk Larson?
Yes.
President Zurich?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next one.
Thank you. All right, so now we have presentation from the Dlac committee, advice to the board. I absolutely love working with the Dlac committee. They are fantastic. This year we have had a lot of participation and just a lot of help with getting input on everything that we've been talking about with LCAP, with all the plans that we've been required to do from the state. And we will be presenting one more time to Dlac for the universal TK stuff. So the Dlac advises every year on this. These are our members. They are amazing. Sorry, I forgot to show that. Every year we advise on the EL master plan. So we go kind of pick different areas to go through. We always do a needs assessment to find out where we are, how our data is looking for English learners. We talk about our program goals and objectives. There are certain state requirements related to teacher and instructional aides and the R30 census. These are just things that we are required to talk about with that group. We always talk about reclassification, whatever new criteria is coming from the state. And then specifically, we have them look at the notification to parents and how we are communicating with them and make comments on those ideas as well. And then, of course, the LCAP. So as we are talking about what their input was, there were 4 main areas. One was just about the teachers and school leadership. One was about the bilingual and community services, health and wellness, and then just overall our support for English learners. So you have this. I'm not necessarily going to read it, but I do want to just talk quickly about just teachers and school leadership and how much we are putting English learners at the focus of decisions at sites. It's really obvious to the Dlac that everyone cares about their students and cares about success of English learners overall, from the board all the way down to our bus drivers and our food service workers and everyone in between. We really appreciate all of the support. They really wanted to highlight the leadership at the schools, the principals and assistant principals who've been so helpful, and also the teachers. 2 things that we've been doing in the last couple of years that have made a big difference that the Dlac has noticed, and this was in a response to your questions, Galen, was creating the watch lists at the high school where we're really monitoring those students. That idea started with our ELILPs. That was our English learner individualized learning plans that we talked about a few years ago. And now this is like a whole group of kids that are not necessarily failing. They're stuck. There's something that they're stuck on. They might be failing a class or they might have a D, but the high schools are doing an amazing job of really tracking those students and their progress and then intervening with them, right? Like having those conversations, getting them in with the counselors, doing all of that. The other piece that they really commented on a lot was the summer programs, how we've innovated on both summer programs, adding high school summer credit recovery, and then also the way that we're tweaking our summer program with the Boys and Girls Club. So specifically the high school stuff really came out a lot this year in the Dlac conversations. And then, I just wanted to comment on that slide too. Sorry, back there. To Galen's comment about wondering about the achievement gap and how we're making that shrink, right? We do recognize the achievement gap is pretty big. However, not as big as the state, so that is good. And we are gaining on it, right? These are systemic problems across the state that we are trying to address here as well. And we're finding like every time we find that thing that makes a difference, we're sticking with it and adding to it or iterating on that. So we are recognizing that there is still a gap, obviously, but we are working to close that with things like the watch lists and that summer credit recovery. The translations and bilingual community services have been amazing, as you know. Barbara just presented this summer. They will be doing some newcomer workshops specifically for bilingual students new to a grade level or a school site and new to the district. So we're super excited about that plan to integrate those services. We also just completely rely on bilingual services team. That is who our parents call when they are struggling with anything at school, right? So they're going to call that community liaison and get connected to the assistant principal or the principal or the counselor or whoever they need help from. Without those services, the parents really feel like they would not have a clue what's happening. Our next steps with bilingual, with translation and bilingual services is really to make sure that every teacher in the district knows how and when to use those services, right? So we know that Barbara's team is amazing, but sometimes things get Google translated and sometimes things get sent out in a hurry. And so she has been actively out in schools giving presentations to teachers, showing what they do, how they do it, how do you request the help and the services so that they can make sure that the teachers all know how those connections are made. So that is a really exciting addition to even improve those services. For wellness and mental health, it was brought up a few times that parents really wanted more services related to mental health. Barbara has been working really closely with her team, learning the nurtured heart approach. Also, they learned the entire Know the Signs presentation, and they've been giving both of those presentations, mini ones and extended ones, to our Spanish-speaking families. We just had a health and wellness night at the Boys and Girls Club. Chris was there. It was amazing. They did such an incredible job, and parents really had great things to say about that. We had a lot of Dlac members attend that night, so that was fantastic. We did have questions at Dlac around what the percentages are of Latinx students accessing wellness centers, and if those spaces were considered accessible by the students, or if they really felt like they had that they belonged in those spaces. So we had a great conversation with Barbara and Kim Bradley and I. We're going to continue to meet and make sure that we are doing everything possible to make that space as inclusive and belonging as possible. We also learned from the sign-in sheets that we are on track demographic-wise with our percentages. About 40% of the kids accessing wellness centers are Latinx kids, and that reflects our demographics in the district. So that was nice to see. What we also wanted to find out was how many of our English learner kids are accessing those spaces. Do they feel comfortable? Do they have enough English? Are they able to have access? So we haven't learned that yet from the team. The Wellness Center currently has the list, and they're comparing it to the sign-ins throughout the year. So when they get that back to me, I will let Ms. Geisels know, and she can give it to you in a board update. And as far as support for English learners, Dlac always appreciates how hard the teachers work for our English learners. Our EL coordinators are amazing, have great connections with the students and the families. They also are super happy that we are prioritizing English learner families for summer school. It's one of the criteria, socioeconomically disadvantaged, and English learners are having a priority for summer programs. They really do feel like they are encouraged, that the kids are engaged and happy with the support that they're getting at school. And that is our report. Any questions?
Thank you, Tara, very much. Do we have questions?
I have a question.
Galen, I think Kirsten is first up. Go ahead, Kirsten.
This isn't a question, this is a comment. I just feel like after last night's excellence, what is it called? Evening of Excellence. It's been quite the week. Evening of Excellence showcased the work that you're all doing in such an absolutely stunning way. So it's been a long journey from just basically a program that was a binder sitting on a shelf, right? That was sort of one-dimensional. And I think your leadership and your creativity and your perseverance on this issue, Tara, has really starting to really bear fruit. and not just bear fruit, but in combination with the work that Craig Rowe and the ARC program and Casey Majunkin, you know, everyone is working together to make sure that these kids aren't left behind. And it's just amazing to see that actually happen. I mean, the scholarships that were, last night was just mind-blowing. I mean, mind-blowing. The amount of first-generation kids who are going to college is like in the numbers that I've never seen before. And it's not just some kids. It's like a large cohort of kids. So it's a significant, I think, moment of pride in our district to be able to say that even though we went through a pandemic, even though so many parents lost their jobs or became unemployed, or were so many families had to move multiple times, that these kids still had a place to go that was safe, and that was our schools. So thank you for your hard work, and I feel like both presentations are just evidence to prove that you just can't give up on these kids, and if you really if you believe that structural oppression can be dismantled, it actually can be. So congratulations to everyone involved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirsten. Galen?
Yes, Tara, thank you for answering my questions. First, I'd like to thank all the parents you have on the Dlac committee. I know that takes a lot of time to serve on any kind of committee. When you don't have a lot of time, it's even more appreciated. And so I really appreciate that. And I particularly like the answers that you came up with to my questions, some things that we're doing in the school district, like the watch list, so we can target and help individuals that just might fall off the track, which is just super. And the credit recovery, what a great idea. When I first heard of that last year, I thought, wow, that was really good. What I would like, because I still see this gap, and it just doesn't seem right that that gap should exist. So something's wrong with our teaching or our learning or and I'm thinking from our Dlac parents people, maybe they see something on their side that we don't see. I mean, I see all the programs that are going on in the school district, but are there things that the parents are seeing, like, are the students able to study as much as they're supposed to? Do they know how much they're supposed to be reading or studying or doing math problems at home? Do they need help? Do they need special tutors? I don't know. I think we have that happening, but it may not be as readily available, and the parents may not realize they can call on it. Just any ideas that they could come up with would be greatly appreciated. And so again, I'll thank them for all their hard work already. And you, Tara, thank you very much.
Thank you, Galen. Any other questions? Chris?
First of all, what is that summer program called that Kings Beach hosts? Aim High. Yeah, do we have?
ACMS.
Yes, that's right. Kings Beach and ACMS. Does the Latino community partake in that? The kids partake in that? And what is the accessibility of meeting them where they're at language-wise?
So the Aim High program is not a TTUSD program, although we support with, the space, and obviously the people who work there are typically our employees. Right. I know that Aim High specifically recruits English learners first. They have had really pretty good success rates with kids who come, and they, getting them ready for their next grade level. And I know that they, most of the teachers there are district employees, so they have that training to work with English learners.
Okay, thank you. When you were talking about the summer offerings, that just was a question that popped up for me. And then I just wanted to make a comment about the about Barbara Kane's program. I mean, above and beyond. They have
Yes.
gone so much beyond translating flyers and meetings, which is how I remember them being used at the beginning of that program. And just the other night, I was just blown away by the level of education. I'm like, I'm so glad I speak Spanish because I need to learn some of this stuff. So, next level. You guys would have been so impressed. So yeah, I just wanted to make that comment, and per usual, thank you for your leadership. I know you're very well respected with our Latino families, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I did want to just say to Galen, one problem that we always try to address, right, is the people who serve on committees like Dlac tend to be very involved parents, right, and tend to be parents who have slightly less need or kids with slightly less of a need than maybe our non-participating parents. So we're always trying to get those parents who've never participated to come and participate in those meetings, and I will definitely ask your questions.
Thank you, Tara. Very well done. And please let your committee know how much that we appreciate them and we miss them being here, because it's always a highlight having them here. Yes, thank you. So, great. Okay, so next we have 3 personnel items. Superintendent Geisels.
Yes, 12.1 is the proposed revisions to a classified management position, the Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations. As we all know, sadly, Mr. George Rojas's last day is Friday, June 3rd. So to explain the revisions, it's a tag team. You have Mr. Todd Rivera and Ms. Jones Apatini here.
Yeah, I'm going to tag really quickly. So Mr. Rivera has really the depth of the knowledge of this, and I'd like to ask him to share it with you.
Great, thank you. So this was just an opportunity to take a look at the job description and see if there's anything we wanted to add or needed to be added. Essentially, we did not change any of the functions or responsibilities of the job. What we did instead is we added additional details and clarity, not only describing some of the tasks and responsibilities that that position would have to undertake, but also providing more details and clarity on the knowledge base and the abilities that are required of that position. And that's really all we did. We just wanted everyone to know what the skill level was and what particular things that job does on a daily basis.
Thank you, Todd. Board questions on that? Would someone like to is there public comment? Would someone like to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the revisions to the job description for the Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations.
I'll second.
Member Dlac?
Aye.
Member Driller?
Aye.
Member Hennessy?
Aye.
Clerk Larson?
Yes.
President Zurich?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and the next related item?
So this has to do with any time that we have either a title change or a salary change, we update the salary schedule. This is simply a title change for the coordinator of the district communications to coordinator of district communications and parent engagement. That is the only change to the salary schedule.
Questions? Public comment? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revisions to classified management salary schedule as presented.
I'll second.
Member Dlac?
Aye.
Member Driller?
Aye.
Member Hennessy?
Aye.
Clerk Larson?
Yes.
President Zurich?
Yes.
Thank you.
So this next one we could say is about making the school year like a month longer and make all the kids panic, right? But it's not.
No, it's not. So when we do calendar stuff, we have lots of people who put eyes on it, but through that, sometimes things are missed. We made a note that there were only 179 days, which the kids would have cheered, but by law, we're required to. So this is just adding one more day at the end of the year. Instead of ending on the 21st of June, it'll be the 22nd of June.
So this is a calendar we had already approved, but we didn't realize that it was one day short, so we're reapproving it.
Correct, and the board's responsibility really is to set the beginning and the end dates, yeah.
Questions? Public comment? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve just the additional day, not the week. I'll make a motion to approve the last day calendar, 22, 23.
I'll second.
Member Dlac.
Aye.
Member Driller.
Aye.
Member Hennessy.
Aye.
Clerk Larson.
Yes.
President Zurich.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay, next we have public comment. This is the opportunity from anyone in the public to comment to the board on anything not on this evening's agenda. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per comment. And I do have 2 folks who signed up. So Tracy?
Yeah, I'm the only one. Heather's girlfriend.
Okay, terrific.
Just have 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yep.
First, it was great. 2 things I've noticed today is it was great to see that there's choice in masks. One person's not masked. It's wonderful to see. And is this on?
It should. Is it?
No.
Okay, can you start my 3 minutes now, please? Okay. And the second thing is that just to see all the strides that you made this year with, particularly with the reading, that was fascinating. One thing I wanted to talk about, a couple things, is we have now 2 years and 2 months of data on COVID that we didn't have. And at the beginning of the school year, there were 22 other districts in the state of California, which we presented to the board, that passed resolutions that were against the masking. They're not against it, but they provided choice for the parents and the kids and the families. This district did not choose that. But what they had to do to accept that choice was they had to not approve the COVID funding, not get the ESSER funds. So they did not receive those. This board chose to receive the funding and therefore had to accept all the protocols, the masking protocols and the tracing protocols. And then several weeks ago, the board approved to receive ESSER fund, the third series of ESSER funds, and that was they had to write a COVID prevention plan, and you approved it immediately. So I feel like that is not giving the kids choice, not giving the families choice at all by doing that. I feel like it's being bribed. I don't know what the money's used for. We've asked, done a Freedom of Information Act asking what that funding has been used for. We still have not received that. And then the other really sad thing that happened this school year, a lot of great things happened, but a really sad thing was, I think you all know Margie C. Hutter. And she was put on unpaid leave. She submitted a religious exemption, not to vax and not to test. She believed that God gave her a natural immunity, which all of us who were studying and not looking only at Google as our only search engine, that pretty much scrubbed anything against what the Biden and Fauci CDC wanted to do. But we knew natural immunity worked. It's always worked for thousands and thousands of years, and it didn't just suddenly not work. But it has now been proven by the Pfizer data dump. I don't know if you're aware, but Pfizer was going to hide all of their data for 75 years. The FDA wanted it hidden, and there was a judge who said, with a Freedom of Information Act, you have to let this out. So I would encourage every single person you hear, and there's 80,000 pages that have now been released. They have to release a certain number of pages per month. But they knew from the beginning natural immunity was 100% valid. So the fact that, honestly, that people are wearing masks and are afraid of it, unless you have personal immunity problems, really, it's not an issue. But Margie was put on leave. The HR department said that they had no protocol for looking at religious exemptions, which to me is horrible for an employer. And we're waiting she's been on unpaid leave now for 6 months, but we're waiting in about 3 weeks, I guess, the determination of that.
Thank you, Tracy. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to board comments. Galen, you want to start us?
Thank you, Kent. No, they don't have any comments.
Okie dokie. Dee Dee?
I actually have no comments. No.
Okay. I'll go next since I'm down the line. First of all, I forgot at the beginning of the meeting I'd like to point out the artwork usually. So we have some wonderful artwork. I'm not sure which school it's from, but this is your trash. And we have some really cool collages.
It's from SWEP.
From SWEP, terrific. Thank you so much. So the kids obviously picked up trash and made collages out of that. and SWEP continues to make an amazing contribution to this school district. Secondly, I can't remember what day it was, Carmen, but I attended the adult education, English as a second language, and CTE completers celebration at the park on the river last week, and it was amazing. So we had 3 GED graduates, 2 of whom were there in cap and gown with their families, one of whom was like around my generation, which was great to see. Mother and grandmother, yep. And then we had multiple completers of our construction CTE certificate, including a husband and wife, and I think their daughter, who listened online, knew as much as they did, so that was super cool. And then we had our English as ESL folks that Heather Sullivan teach, and had them move up with in their certificate level. It's just really a wonderful event, and I was honored to be there. And I did have one of the graduates approach me as a board member and just say how much she appreciates what we all do as a district for folks, and how it impacts our Spanish-speaking community, and hoping that we would continue to do that, and I hope we do too. So that's what I have to report related to TTUSD activities, and looking forward to all the end of the year stuff. So Chris.
I just want to reiterate about the mental health and wellness night that was done for our Spanish-speaking families. I had a head count, and I could be wrong, I had a head count of about 41 attendees. Is that correct? Yeah. And the topics, and I left after an hour and a half, you know, and it was just like one topic after the other, and I'm like, copious notes for myself. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, just looking forward to graduations. I'm still waiting to work my calendar out. I hope to make it to a few more things than I've signed up for, but yeah, working on that. That's it.
Kirsten.
Basically, just kind of more echoing kind of the experience of the evening last night, and just, you know, not only the English language learner population, but obviously the kids who are going to the top tier schools were rewarded with incredible local scholarships, as well as outside of our community scholarships. So Logan, I just wanted to share with you, you know, I think that you rode through a very difficult period of time, in particular with this class, because they got hit pretty hard, and a lot of their high school experience sort of got erased. But you didn't ever let go of the dream of reconstructing their dreams, and so now we get to see them graduate and really celebrate all of the hard work that everybody put into just like making sure that everyone would stay online, stay in touch, stay in cohorts, stay positive, wear their masks or not, you know, and work behind plexiglass screens and plexiglass desks, and just the madness of it was just, it's amazing to see that you all did it, you survived, and please pass on to the staff as classified and the certificated that everyone deserves a huge fist pump for surviving this whole thing and graduating these kids this year. So thank you.
And congratulations, Mom, for graduating your last senior. So good job. And with that, we'll adjourn to our next regular meeting on June 15th.
Did Galen go?
Galen